tackling insecurity in Nigeria, the hard way approach. And my guest is a seasoned person in this area. He's been trained not just in Nigeria, but within the international frontiers. And today, he's bringing his expertise to bear on this area so that we can tackle insecurity in our country. Ayobami Omotoriogun is Executive Director, Buckler Systems Limited, and he'll be telling us what they do. All right, Omotoriogun, nice to have you in the building. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
And how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Lovely to see you.
All right, so you are into security, right?
Yes.
You trained in Nigeria?
Yeah, well, my first degree, mechanical engineering, University of Lagos, Grace Akokite, and I have another degree in military vehicle technology from Cranfield University, Defense Academy of the United Kingdom.
All right, so that means you'll have training in the Western world again, as well as in Nigeria. So at the moment, you are from Buckler Systems, and we're looking at how best to tackle insecurity. So by definition and clarity, explain to us what you guys do at Buckler Systems.
So Buckler Systems is a manufacturer of civilian and military equipment, as it were. Our focus is on manufacturing of civilian armored vehicles, civilian security solutions, and military equipment as well.
All right.
Ranging from various types of armored personnel carriers, etc.
Right. And when we hear of this kind of vehicles, a lot of times what comes to our mind is that they're all imported. So you guys are saying here that you guys do that in Nigeria too?
Absolutely, yes, we do.
So if we have that, in terms of tackling insecurity in our country, using hardware, do we have sufficient capacity in this direction?
As of today, I would say no, because of, I would say, government policies. However, a few companies like ours that have that believe so much in this cause and have invested quite a significant amount of money to ensure that we add value to this industry locally. Unfortunately, mostly it's stifled by various government policies. However, companies like ours continue to
raise your head above water.
Exactly.
So do know that you can to stay afloat, let's say.
Exactly.
So insecurity is becoming overwhelming, so to say, at the moment. But from your look of things, do we really have the approach or the strategies to tackle this? I mean, every day now we have all forms of crimes that are raising their heads in the country. If it's not banditry, it's insurgency, it's kidnapping, and all of that. So do you think we have the capacity to really tackle all of this?
So in terms of capacity, I would say we do. But in terms of the tools of tackling this insecurity, I would say we don't.
Why?
And the reason being that, Nigeria has arguably the most amount of security agencies I've ever seen in my life.
You mean it?
In a country. However, these security agencies are not, most of them are not, they don't have the adequate training, and they don't also have the adequate tools to deter insecurity or chaos, as it were. So if I give you an example.
Please do.
Our military, for instance, are probably the best in Africa, when it comes to land skirmishes, etc. However, these guys are very, very under-equipped, with the right kind of equipment that is needed in today's world. So, the world of tackling crime has gone beyond just giving a soldier a gun. There's intelligence part of it. There's an intelligence part of it now. There's surveillance, there's reconnaissance that need to be implemented to prevent crime even before it happens.
But it's not to say that we do not know this, right? We do know that reconnaissance is needed, surveillance is needed, and we have men that we send for training year in, year out. So where is the problem? Where's the gap here?
So I would think that the problem is maybe the inability of government to invest locally in developing solutions to its own problems.
You mean it?
I would say 99% of military equipment or security equipment that is being used by Nigerian security agencies are imported. Okay. And that itself poses a problem because most of the countries where these things are imported from sometimes do have IATA restrictions that prevent them from exporting or makes it a very, very, very cumbersome process. If the government reinvests backwards into companies that are manufacturing locally or encourages people to set up companies that do manufacture security apparatus locally, then it makes it easier because these solutions or this equipment will now be tailored for the purpose to which, we will be tailored to our own environment. So it's not just fixing square pegs in a round hole.
So do we have what it takes to manufacture these things locally in Nigeria?
Absolutely we do. For instance, what we are doing at Buckler Systems is fascinating, and if only we have the right government support or the adequate support. We do have some support, but if we have the adequate support that allows us. For instance, let me give you an example. In the US, the US government actually invests in companies like ours that have come up to say, look, we're able to create security solutions for the military or for the police. They invest in us in terms of R&D and allow us come up with all sorts of solutions, which at the end of the day is now being used by security agencies. But in Nigeria, you have to use your money to do these things, and after, even when you use your money, patronage is
a challenge.
Could be a problem.
So there should be a fund that is set up by government to say people that have ideas on how to tackle insecurity in terms of hardware can come up with that and then invest in that. Is that what you're saying now?
Absolutely. I mean, we as a company have invested well over $1 million on security on tools and machinery, for us to be able to manufacture things locally. It's a lot of money we've invested, and I mean, the only encouraging thing for us would be for us to get adequate support in terms of patronage, in terms of funding, for us to be able to get to the level where even our equipment we're able to export them.
All right, let's look at the dimensions that are needed. If you want to tackle insecurity, I was just discussing with you off air, and you were saying there are different dimensions to tackling insecurity. There's the software approach, the hardware, and all of that. How can that really come in as for us as a community, to ensure that once we have crime in society, within the twinkle of an eye, you can be rest assured that such a criminal will be arrested? I mean, look at what's been happening even in the Western world. You find somebody who probably attacked somebody else. I remember in the UK, somebody stabbing, going on a random stabbing spree, so to say.
Yes.
And within 2-3 minutes, even though the criminal had fled the scene, within 2-3 minutes, the MI5, what are they called now? Yeah. They were able to apprehend the guy, and can we have that kind of scenario here? Do we even have the kind of simulations that can make that happen here?
So my answer to that will be two things: data and surveillance. The two which we don't have in Nigeria. So we don't have data, meaning that for instance, if someone is even apprehended by the police by manner of fingerprints or whatever, they are unable to electronically determine who the person is. That's one. Number two is surveillance. I mean, like you mentioned in the UK. In the UK, there's security cameras everywhere. Even shops have cameras, highways have cameras, streets have cameras. The police have something called the ANPR cameras that are even able to capture plate numbers and do all sorts of things. So we don't have that here, which is the soft approach I mentioned, because the point is, having surveillance itself is some form of deterrent, because if people know that, look, if I kill someone here or if I attack someone here, I will be caught, itself is a deterrent. But when people know that street lights are not working, there are no cameras anywhere, everywhere is dark, obviously that itself is an incentive for crime.
All right, so with the alarming rate of insecurity, the kind of solutions that you guys are bringing, would it be sufficient to tackle some of these challenges that we're referring to?
So Buckler Systems is divided into different divisions, for instance, and we do have obviously a part of the company that is focused on manufacturing the hardware, but also we have another part of the company which is focused on manufacturing the the soft side of things, which is software, cameras, etc. So for us, it's a two-pronged approach. So you cannot kill crime by guns and vehicles. You can't. There's always a two-pronged approach, and it is those approaches, or if you like, working together that actually helps deter crime.
Right. So surveillance cameras here means what now? You guys, you deploy cameras in certain locations and you're able to track it, or what?
So for instance, we're working on a solution which is almost like a surveillance tower, which could be deployed in various parts. For instance, if you use Lagos as an example, it can be deployed in various parts of Lagos, where all that is done inside that security cabin will be to just gather data, right? And because it has a telescopic pole camera that allows you see at least about 3 kilometers away from where you are, it just allows the guys in there to gather data about what is happening around. So that can be strategically deployed in various parts of the states, for instance, and gather data, which poses very important when you're now trying to tackle crime, or you're trying to prevent an occurrence which most times we are reactive towards rather than preventive.
All right. So in terms of the kind of vehicles, because you did mention that you guys manufacture vehicles, armored vehicles, and all of that.
Yeah.
Without getting into too much specifics, exposing a lot.
Yeah.
The vehicles that you manufacture, are they sufficient? Can they specifically tackle this kind of insurgency, or perhaps the kind of crime that we have surfacing in our communities today?
Right. So we have two, when we talk about armored vehicles, we have the civilian armored vehicles, which are mostly used by VIPs to protect themselves.
The ones we call the ones that we know as bulletproof.
Yeah, exactly. We say nothing is bulletproof, but they're armored vehicles that allow that prevent level BR6 protected armored vehicles that prevent people from getting into arm's way, and even when you're in arm's way, protect you from rifles, from 7.62 by 39 ammunitions, etc.
Right.
However, we also have military grade vehicles that it could be used by the police or by the armed forces, and these vehicles obviously allow the soldiers to, from a safe haven, execute their offensive, towards the enemy.
And they're safe.
Yes, and they are safe while they are doing it, because we've had unfortunate instances where security officers are in soft skin vehicles and are going against armed daredevil terrorists or insurgents, and they die in the process because they are not protected. But it's very important for us to provide the adequate type of protection for anyone who is going to execute an onslaught against the enemy.
All right, so there's a question that's coming in here on WhatsApp. This is coming from Shei. Shei says, why do police continue to use soft shell vehicles? I do not know anything about that, so you need to explain that to me. Soft shell, what does that mean?
Well, I think what Shei is trying to say is soft skin vehicles,
Okay.
however, but it's inappropriate, really. I would say there are different arms of the police, but any policeman who will or has who has the possibility of facing daredevil armed robbers or insurgents should not be in a soft skin vehicle, because it's dangerous. I mean, so you have to be protected, basically.
So soft skin is as opposed to
the Kia cars that are being used by the police. I mean, it's not. It's a trap. Let me just say, it's a death trap.
So definitely that will not be able to.
Yeah, if they are ambushed, they will die.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, tackling insecurity. The hard way approach is our focus this morning, and I have Ayobami Omotoriogun, who is the Executive Director, Buckler Systems Limited. We're trying to see how we explore this to a higher level. If we take you through the Ajasa Command Corridor, we can tell you Ekoro, Iyanomero, and of course its adjoining corridors still very calm at the moment, no major worries. Movement inwards Agbele Kale and outwards Agbele Kale looks pretty good as well. Ilewe is in perfect shape for now, and if you're connecting command It's very okay to drive all through that end. Little delays at the intersection at command, but no worries. Movement inwards at Femi, and of course, to and fro is very much in good shape. Church roundabout connecting Ayobo is still very okay as well. And then we have it very stable around Ishefun Road, inwards Megida and Amule, but very okay for now. All right, then we can tell you impediment is very negative at the moment. Very, very shortly, I also allow you to join the conversation. If you want to ask Ayobami one or two questions, feel free to do so as well. But exploring this further, so for us in our communities, the ones we're used to are the people that come around, the armed robbery attacks and all of that. Ayobami, what's the best way that we can tackle that to ensure that we do not have such rearing its ugly head in our society, our communities?
Well, from the angle of security solutions provider, on the angle to the residents, I would say, as much as possible, have a lot of surveillance around your homes.
Okay.
Security cameras, access control, very important. You should know who is coming to your area. You should be able to identify who is coming close to your homes. To security agencies, I would say surveillance as well. It's very important that at every time there is some form of means to identify people, and even if a crime has occurred, it's very important for you to be able to play back that event. Now, what happens a lot of times is that these events happen and it's almost impossible for security agencies to gather any intelligence whatsoever as regards what might have happened, apart from obviously witness accounts, which most times might be erroneous. The government and the state government or the federal government should be able to deploy surveillance cameras in most areas of the country, which I know at some point there was a contract that was given up, but that's another
topic.
Yeah,
here in Lagos, Lagos State government is investing in that at the moment.
Right.
So we have some of the areas which are, we have cameras that are being deployed. Although it's not just for security, but equally for traffic management as well.
Right.
But that's to show you that we're heading in that direction to try and see how we nab some of these. Yeah. Very recently, we had a robbery incident in Ibadan, right?
Yes.
We'll talk about that very, very shortly as well, and the role of hardware or perhaps software, what it can do to eliminate that. Let's take this call that's coming in. Hello there, good morning. Good morning.
Yes, my name is Femi. First of all, I really want to give props to the young man in the studio. People with vision and expertise like him should be supported and encouraged to do even better for Nigeria.
Right.
I agree with his comments about tailoring the solutions to the Nigerian environment, because having equipment being brought into the country that do not particularly meet the needs of the Nigerian security apparatus is detrimental to the fight against insecurity.
Right.
So with people like this, I believe that we can better tailor our solutions to the security needs of our people locally.
Right.
So I really want to encourage Albami, and I want him to explore the possibility of armored tanks, because if we look at countries that have excelled in terms of war and security, you will find that they have their own armored vehicles, armored tanks, specifically.
Right.
So I think Albami should begin to work with the security agencies to develop Nigeria's own battle
locally made armored tankers.
We need our own battle tank.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Femi, for adding your voice to the conversation as well. So apart from this kind of vehicles, are you guys looking in that direction from what Femi has said now? Are you thinking of coming up with this kind of armored tankers that can also help?
Absolutely. We do have, thank you, Femi, for your comments. We do have designs, already certified designs for armored main battle tanks. Well, that's the word.
Okay.
The main battle tanks. However, so development cost of a main battle tank, a proper main battle tank will cost in excess of over $1 million.
You mean it?
Yes.
So it's that expensive?
So that's why we need support.
Okay.
Because taking private sector funds to fund that without some form of guarantee of patronage is it's a risky investment.
Definitely. So, and have you been able to approach government on all of this? Have you been able to make it known to the federal government or even state governments for them to know that we have this initiative that can really help to tackle insecurity in Nigeria, rather than for us going cap in hand to places like China, United States of America, UK to buy this equipment?
Absolutely. So Buckler Systems is accredited by the Federal Ministry of Finance, the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Nigerian Customs, and the National Automotive Development and Development Council. So we are very known to government, but being known to government and getting funds from government are two different things. There are two different things. But I know the federal government certainly is willing, but we just need to put more action into that, because we don't have time really as a country, because the whole world is moving and leaving us behind. Right. So we need to make hay while the sun shines.
Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM. You want to add your voice to the conversation as well? Feel free to do so. 08099120777. Ayobami Omotoriogun is here with me in the studios. His brain works like a machine, and that's why he's coming up with all the developing ideas in serving hardware for insecurity to tackle that. I do not know if we can also think of locally made warcrafts, so to say. Do you have the capacity for that?
No, we don't.
We don't?
Warcraft? you mean like drones or something?
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's not impossible. You see, nothing is impossible. That's the thing. It's just with the right support. Because, you see, when you make things like that, who is the consumer? The consumer is government, the armed forces. So, if there's no support from that end, either in terms of funding the research and development or patronage, then it becomes extremely difficult,
right,
for any private company to go into all of that without some guarantee of patronage. But definitely in terms of capability, we do have the capability to do anything.
Okay, we have a question here on WhatsApp. This one says, there are constant attacks on cash in transit vehicles. Let me take this call first before we take this one.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Musbah here from Mission.
All right, Musbah, how are you doing?
I'm fine.
It's been quite a while. Talk to me. I have Motoriogun here.
I always close by and listen all time.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, good morning, I guess.
Good morning.
Yeah, fantastic idea. I know. One, I appreciate you for even to just come to the public and let you know, because we have a lot of Nigerians who manufacture AK-47. Fine. Standard in Nigeria here, locally made. But they are not, governments are not recognizing them, and to give them backing, that's why they go the other side. Now you come out, I want to ask you, I want to be sincere. This locally made, is this 100% locally made? I mean, there are some sides there that go to import. Okay. I want to be sincere.
All right.
Now, second.
Yeah.
Now, want to tell me, you have the military intelligence and all that technical. Are you ready to partner with you? Because the military, they have a technical section.
Okay.
Who are manufacturing submarines for the government? Are they in line with? Are they ready to cooperate with you? Are you ready to go with them? Or you have any military background?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for your questions. Double dose, so to say. All right, so quickly, can you answer that, because I still have some here?
So, in terms of the components of our vehicles, I mean, there's no company that manufactures 100% of whatever it is that is in their vehicles. So the answer to that is no. Obviously, we
have some parts that are important.
However, we are very mindful of backward integration and local content in our company, because it's one of even the requirements from the government. So we ensure that at least as we proceed down the line, that, because I mean, we're in a specialized industry and most of the things we use as raw materials are not made here. However, we are constantly looking at how we can do some backward integration to ensure that we manufacture most of what we use locally. Secondly, you said are we willing partnership with the government, with the military? Well, we're already in some sort of partnership with the military, but I can't say more than that.
All right, so very limited. So to say. Yeah. All right, so this one says there are constant attacks on cash in transit vehicles. Why is CBN not reviewing their policy on the operations of cash in transit vehicles? This is coming from Shola in Lekki. You have any response to that?
So, well,
cash in transit vehicles.
There are attacks on cash in transit vehicles almost anywhere in the world because obviously this carry money. So, where you have crime and you have cash in transit, obviously there'll be an attack. However, the problem with cash in transit that I've seen in Nigeria, especially evaluating some of the attacks that have happened, is that some of these vehicles are not properly made. And that's why it's always quite easy for these vehicles to be attacked. Yeah, to be attacked. Number one, we've noticed that some of where they have the cash compartment, and the locks sometimes are locally made locks. Okay. When I mean locally made, I'm not trying to say locally made locks are not good, but they are inferior locks. Almost like using a padlock. Yeah, I've seen that, and that itself is unprofessional. I think any company that does that should actually be sanctioned. That's number one. Number two, if you look at the incident that happened, which I know we'll get to.
Let's quickly talk about that because of time now.
Yes.
So what happened in Ibadan, the robbery incident?
Yes. So. From what I learned and from the video that I saw, obviously a cash in transit was attacked, and quite easily it was. So from my experience, if you look at a lot of cash in transit vehicles in Nigeria, they go about looking extremely dilapidated, and these are vehicles that are carrying millions of naira and valuable. So, for instance, if you look at the vehicle in Ibadan, there was no run flat insert. So ideally, when your tire is shot in an armored vehicle, your vehicle should still be able to move at least 50 kilometers.
You mean it?
Yes, because there's something called the run flat insert in the tire. But in this case, there was nothing like that. That was when the tire was shot, the vehicle immediately went on the rim. And obviously, that rendered the vehicle immobile.
Ooh.
That itself was a contributing factor to the successful attack that happened to that vehicle. So, I think cash in transit operators actually also need to be called to some form of order with respect to the standard of the vehicles they are deploying for these operations.
All right.
And
All right. So this one says, how best can technology be used to subject our government officials in reacting to crime issues? Because as we speak, the police is yet to make a statement on the attack in Ajah or even the attack in Ibadan. So how can we, ensure that government is able to rise and react appropriately when we have this kind of issues?
Well, I'm not a spokesman for the police. However, I think that it still boils down to infrastructure and, the government or the police using technology to combat crime rather than, trying to go manual. Let me just put it that way.
Right.
So, you don't need to have 100 policemen in a particular place doing surveillance if you can just have working CCTV cameras.
That can do that.
That can do that. So it's more of coming from an intelligence approach rather than, activity approach. Let me just put it that way.
All right. So for us to secure our communities, you guys are providing solutions, right? So apart from the ones that go to the military, what about the ones for tackling the normal kind of crime in our neighborhood, people stealing and all that?
Right.
Do you have equipment that can also help with that?
Well, we don't have equipment for all crimes. However, I'll just say what we have. So, for regular vehicles, soft skin vehicles, like I think Sheyi said earlier,
all right,
we do have something called Rebound Automotive Security Film that basically prevents burglars from jacking your car. So the regular smash and grab events that happen in traffic, once you apply that film, even if the guy comes to you with a hammer and tries to break through your glass, it prevents that event from occurring.
All right.
And also we use this also in architectural solutions like your house, your glasses, you can also apply the film. So that also tasers are things you can have.
Okay, tasers?
yeah, tasers. Those are non-lethal deterrents. Yeah,
so you guys have all of this?
Yes, you can get a taser.
Oh, okay. That sounds really nice. Okay, we'll have to leave it at that for now. For those who want to connect with you after this time out, how can they reach you?
Well, I can give out my corporate handle. I think you can follow Buckler Systems on Instagram, Twitter, at Buckler Systems.
Okay.
You'll be able to reach us on Instagram, and if you have any inquiry, you can call our official line, which is on 080-655-55009, 080-655-55009.
All right. This one says, I think Buckler Ordnance should pursue a sort of relationship with the Defense Industrial Corporation for some areas of collaboration. All right, I hope you guys can do that.
We're on that already.
As always, you should look into manufacturing wear, is it personal armor protection? Okay, all right. I guess we have to leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
All right, Ayobami, nice having you in the building. Thank you so much for being here.
For having me.
And I hope that someday we will to secure ourselves very well using our local content as well.
Hopefully.
Okay, then.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. So I've been speaking with Ayobami Omotoriogun, who is the executive director